foreshadowing the kind of foreign policy we're going to get with Trump. Marco Rubio is the most coherent, probably the smartest of the nominees that have been put up so far. But he's also like a hack and a sycophant and all of that, and a uber hawk.
Out of the triumphalism of the end of the long Cold War emerged a bipartisan consensus. And this consensus was that we had reached the end of history, that all of the nations of the world would now become members of the democratic Western-led community, that a foreign policy that served the national interest could now be replaced by one that served the liberal world order, and that all mankind was now destined to abandon national sovereignty and national identity and would instead become one human family and citizens of the world. This wasn't just a fantasy. We now know it was a dangerous delusion. Here in America and in many of the advanced economies across the world, an almost religious commitment to free and unfettered trade at the expense of our national economy shrunk the middle class, left the working class in crisis, collapsed our industrial capacity, and has pushed critical supply chains into the hands of adversaries and of rivals.
Oh, did you see that move there? Did you see how you were like, Comrade fucking Rubio? And then he did the quick pivot. That's why China's under our fucking bed, about to attack us in our sleep. He starts off fucking railing against neoliberal globalization, how the neoliberal economic order has wrought all of these immiserating conditions. You know, when I started hearing that, I'm like, these MAGA NatCon intellectuals, they have some critiques of how power has been working. That sounds very lefty. What's going on here? Maybe they've been red-pilled or something. Maybe they've got some consciousness. And then he immediately goes, and they destroyed our industrial capacity, and they took our supply chains, and that's why it's time for World War fucking III. And it's like, God damn it, dude. You know, the core thing that they think neoliberal globalization destroyed was the national sovereignty. But national sovereignty, these same people, these MAGA types, the Republicans, and specifically Rubio, have never in their lifetimes allowed national economic sovereignty for other nations. National sovereignty and nationalism itself is the all-encompassing ideology of them, and it's got like a hollow core to it. They talk about nationalism and the nation state and national sovereignty, but it's always sovereignty for me, not for thee. This is a construct where we are justified in going after maximum power grabs and extractions of wealth for ourselves. It's a way of legitimating one-way power hoarding and power projection.
An irrational zeal for maximum freedom of movement of people has resulted in a historic mass migration crisis.
So the capital can move around. People, not so much.
It's one that threatens the stability of societies and of governments. Across the West, governments now censor and even prosecute domestic political opponents. Meanwhile, radical jihadists openly march in the streets and sadly drive vehicles into our people. While America far too often continued to prioritize the global order above our core national interests, other nations continue to act the way countries have always acted and always will, in what they perceive to be their best interest.
So you see, they talk about nationalism as if it's this coherent thing, as if it's a thing that is universal, which is like almost a contradiction in terms, but it's like, this is a construct, an intellectual construct that justifies America doing whatever the fuck it wants. And as the dominant power in the international system, that means fucking primacy still. Somebody in the chat said, yeah, whenever they talk about this anti-neoliberal shit, they point to more financialization, more grift, more deregulation. Yes, you're gonna talk about the evils of neoliberal globalization and then issue a fucking meme coin and then cash out Haktua style. You know what I mean? Like, are you like, it's a joke. It's a joke.
And instead of folding into the post-Cold War global order, they have manipulated it to serve their interests at the expense of ours. The post-war...
It's those elites who've manipulated the global order for their interests, not ours, as if he is with the common man.
Global order is not just obsolete, it is now a weapon being used against us.
This is radical. The post-war global order is not just obsolete, it's a weapon being used against us. Every single one of you motherfuckers who's in New Zealand, in Australia, in the UK, take note that the United States does not stand for the imagined order that you think exists and that you place at the center of your foreign policy. They have repudiated it. Washington has repudiated it.
And all this has led to a moment in which we must now confront the single greatest risk of geopolitical instability and of generational global crisis in the lifetime of anyone alive and in this room today.
China. All of this is a giant jerk-off wind-up to World War III with China, economic containment of China, the ethno-purification of the nation so that we can more easily mobilize resources to go up against China. That's that bullshit. All of that was a way to preserve the ruling class and to extend the power and the wealth of the ruling class. They did it by co-opting leftist critiques of capitalism to do even more and worse capitalism, to do versions of feudalism and capitalism at the same time, and ultimately to drive us into fucking World War III. Bravo. Well played. Well played. Who's having it? You know? The problem is a lot of people are having it.